Hey everybody, welcome to the October edition of RelationShifts. I'm Larry Little.
And I'm Melissa Jackson.
And we have a October fall Halloween podcast for today, don't we, Melissa?
Yes, I have a question for you as we get going. What do you do for Halloween? What do y'all do?
Oh man, I wish I could tell you that I was all into it and we dress up with costumes and have all kind of costume parties, but the truth is not much.
Well, Larry, I'm glad you said that because it caused me to remember something from years past, years and years ago. And I think I have a picture of you and Melanie.
That's my wife.
Yes, and Toto.
Toto was our dog. His name was Charlie.
Yes, and y'all were dressed up.
I was the.
Mel had the basket with the puppy dog in it, and you guys were.
What was I? I was the lion, right? Didn't I dress? I was the lion. Yeah.
Were the lion? Full costume.
Is that
the mane, the everything. It's coming back to me.
Does that describe me? You think the lion?
The lion. I think it was foreshadowing. It's been so long ago. I think it was a foreshadowing.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I remember that. So that was the time that I participated. We had a party. Sure. Somebody had a party. We were all going to. You were there. Yeah.
You were all out.
Yeah, I was all in.
It was impressive.
I remember that. I think that's the only time since I was a child that I wore a costume, actually. So there you go. I was a lion. How about it? Yep. Mm-hmm. So yes, I celebrate Halloween 20 years ago. Or whatever.
Well, today's going to be a lot of fun. So we're talking about the shadow side of personality. And what does that mean? What does that look like? How do you be mindful of it? But I have a question to get us going this morning. Okay. And when we're talking about personalities, we're talking about that parrot, that lion, that camel, that turtle.
Yep.
So here is the question. How do you know if my strength becomes a weakness?
Boy, that's a great question, because the truth is we all have shadows, and we'll talk about that in a bit. So how do we know? How do we know when we have them? How do you know? And I think, how am I going to be aware? So let's use an example, shall we? Let's use it. Let's just, for the sake of this conversation, let's say that I have this trait. And let's say it's when I'm drinking coffee out of my coffee mug, I slurp my coffee.
That one is too far-fetched. You're going to try a different one. That one, okay. I'm having a hard time following you.
Let's say I do that, and it's just one of these things that's an irritant to others. How would I know about that? And here's the thing. First, you have to have people you trust around you to speak into your life, and that's the first step. You have to have someone to say, hey, you're slurping. But that's only the first step. Because then the most important thing is, can I hear that? So first, do you have anybody you trust to tell you that, hey, you're slurping your coffee, or hey, you're whatever you're doing, and whatever this weakness is, and then are you able to hear them? Are you willing to hear them? Yeah, are you willing to hear? And then the third one is the thing is the most important too. Are you willing to do anything about it? Right? Okay, so I can pull people around me. I can listen to what they say. But if I just nod my head and go, thanks, and then go, I haven't changed anything.
You might would do that.
True. Especially if I thought it would annoy you just a bit, just to kind of get on your last nerve. I definitely would do that. But we're talking, in this example, what I should do is work on drinking my coffee without slurping, try to get better, right? Take action is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. I've got to be willing to take action.
Yeah, so a lot of dynamics in that recipe. A lot of being able to listen to other people, being able to take that information, not be offended or defended by, to be able to make some adjustments, some little shifts to make a difference and be able to learn.
Yeah, and one thing this came to my mind is having people around you. You have to be willing, at the very beginning to say, I'm going to pull people around me who ask the right questions too. Like, hey, did you know? And so that I can hear. So it's important that we're receptive, that we have these weaknesses. Hey, Melissa, is there anything that I'm doing how can I get better? So that's an attitude.
That right now?
No,
okay,
we don't have time. No, it's a short podcast. The list would be long. We would be there. But I will say this, I'm probably going to get in trouble for this. Stay tuned, though, because we do have a superstar on the horizon who will be putting out social media video clips. Her name is Melissa Jackson. And I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there, Robin. I'm putting it out. She's amazing. It really is good stuff. So be on the lookout. We've got some video clips coming. Watch your social media feed, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
And so we have a stat on that. 65 to 70% of people believe they're self-aware, right? They believe they're self-aware, but they're not.
That's true.
Funny stuff.
That's true.
We're excited. We're going to be putting some things out there to help us grow, help us learn. We've got some new pieces coming down the road. We're super excited about RelationShifts and where we're headed with that. So we're going to want to share that with those that listen, and looking forward to hearing their response. But today, in all seriousness, these shadows, parts about our personality, these are pieces that really aren't, they're not like a weakness in our personality. Mm-hmm. Really, these shadows, if we think about it, they come from our strengths.
Yeah, they come from our strengths. So what is a shadow? We'll jump in there. And a shadow is just simply something that we're aware of, or maybe we're not aware of. You just gave that stat, and we'll talk about that awareness again in just a minute. But it's something that is negative, something that is a weakness. We're not overused. We're not going to be politically corrected. A weakness is a weakness, or something that is annoying to others, or anyway that we don't want to continue to do. So a shadow in our behavior, if you think about it, it's something that we would like to. That's not effective. Let me put it like that. That's not effective. And so we're going to talk about some real life examples in a minute, but let's back up for a second. Think about that just a minute. When we overuse our strengths, many times they become shadows. Mm-hmm. They become weaknesses. Mm-hmm. They become, so an example for that. Let's just kind of walk through that.
I can think of one even about myself. Yeah. So a shadow for myself is when I have this tendency to be action oriented, and I am in action. And I go from action to action to action, and my pace becomes something that's not thoughtful. Mm-hmm. I'm not slowing down to think about the details. And so here I go, and I'll just continue to pick up speed until I hit something, a bump, that causes me to pull back and self-reflect and figure that out. And when I'm doing that, when I'm so action-oriented, I'm running off ahead of everybody. Mm-hmm. And I'm not being mindful or aware of everybody else. And it creates issues.
Well, you've taken a great strength, being action-oriented. And when we overuse it, you run away from people or over people or by people.
Past,
so it becomes, you run right past them, and it becomes a weakness.
Yes.
And that's exactly, it's a great example, beautiful example of what a shadow is. And each personality type has it. So if you're a lion or a parrot or a turtle or camel, we all have shadows. So it's not like, I don't have any. Everybody has. So we have to think about, how do we navigate those? The good news is there's some things that we can do, but it's important to know, and don't take our word for it. Let's look at some data, right? 30 to 40% of conflict in the workplace or even in the family comes not from necessarily a weakness, but comes when we overuse our strengths, as you've just articulated. You've just talked about overusing your strengths that caused a problem, could cause a conflict because you run past people. What a great example.
So I think we can pause there. I think we need to pause and just kind of process that, because that's a really strong metric there. That's a strong data and something for us to really think about. We might get caught up in, this is a weakness, in our relationship, or this person has a weakness in our relationship. And we kind of get caught up in that. And I think we can go to a place where, this is a weakness and this can't change. This can't be tweaked. There can't be a little shift because this is kind of who this person is. Right. And this is how they act, or this is what I do. And I can't stop myself or whatever. And instead, these are strengths. And when we overuse our strengths, they become a weakness. So immediately we can begin to think about, okay, how can we keep a barometer on that? what can that look like? How can we gauge? How can we be more mindful of how much pressure we're putting on that gas pedal, and how can we control that a little better? Here's that other stat playing off that 60-70% of people that are not self-aware. But that 10 to 15% actually are. This is from the Harvard Business Review. So, if we're only 10 to 15% truly aware, we've got some room to grow there.
Oh yeah, we got some room to grow. And why should we do that? And because it's devastating to have shadows that you're either not aware of or not willing to deal with spouses, with parents, with coworkers. When we continue to allow these shadows to dominate, we kind of overuse our strengths over and over again, it hurts our relationships. There's all kind of data around that, but when we do that, one thing we know for sure is it hurts our relationships, and that's crucial to us to understand. So you said a minute ago in your example, I can't. Someone said I can't. This is just who I am. I can't. And that word "can't" is one of I think the most detrimental words to relationships that's in existence today. I can't.
Well, as you're talking, I'm thinking about an old Maxwell quote, that he would say in his books and his content, would be work on your strengths, not your weaknesses. Yeah. And so therefore, if we're working on our strengths and understanding that our strength it's three-dimensional, it's got different dimensions to it. And our strength is knowing how much to use that and when not to, when to kind of pause, when kind of to step back, that's going to help us regulate our strength.
You said it right. The key is not doing away with who you are. We're not trying to change who you are. We're trying to regulate behavior. We're trying to change how you behave, how you choose to interact, how I choose to interact. So it's not about changing the person. It's about being aware and regulating the behavior and regulating the personalities. And that's really important. So what are some real life examples? Let's kind of talk about that to kind of bring it in a little bit more with clarity and to focus. Talk to us a little bit about parenting. What do you see in that?
So here's an idea. If we take this and really dive in and look at it from that angle, let's say you have a camel parent, and that parent is really good with structure in the home. That camel brings the calendar to the home. That camel brings, the afternoon process and what it looks like and how the kids get into homework and how they get ready for dinner and how they get ready for the next day and the things that they do. It's a strength. But when it's overused, it becomes a weakness, right? And the flip side of that structure and that process is that camel parent can become too rigid. That camel parent can start driving things from, they're so rigid that they don't allow for flexibility. Maybe they don't allow for their kids being tired or for them being tired or their family members being tired. And so they're just working the process and they're on it. And at the same time, they're really kind of fueling and feeding frustration in their family. And so that strength, while, when you operate in a healthy zone, can be very positive and it brings a lot to the family and it helps the family function, it can also, if it's overused, it can become too rigid where it becomes rules and regulations.
That's good. So let's think a bit about either a marriage or a dating relationship, someone that you are intimate with. I used to, when I was back in the day, when I was in the counseling world, in the counseling practice, I used to have couples that would sit in front of me, and if they would say to me, "We've never had a fight. We don't fight. We've never had a fight," I knew they were in trouble. I knew we had some trouble because a healthy relationship in any kind of, it has to give room for disagreement, has to give room for seeing things differently, has to give room for healthy conflict. We talk about that a lot. So if I'm in a relationship and I hate conflict and I run away, the positive side of that is I'm a peacemaker. I can overlook some things. I can bring peace to our relationship together. But if I'm so passive, if that turns into passivity so that I don't deal with things, so that I don't deal with conflict, so that it's going to end up either with me being bitter or my partner, the other person, being misunderstood or feeling frustrated because I'm not engaging. They feel like that I never have an opinion. It causes isolation. It can cause pulling back. It can cause going into the shell. And so it really, overusing my strength of being a peacemaker could result in toxicity and really hurt that relationship.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. And if you think about a work example, maybe you have a lion supervisor, and, this lion can rally the troops and they can take action and they can dive in and make things happen. And, if there's a crisis, they just rise to the top. They create all that, movement and action. But then they overuse that and everything becomes where it has to be action oriented.
Yep.
Or, everything is something to fix.
Everything's a fire.
There's
You got to put out the fire.
And so that can exhaust team members, wear them out. And the lion is just overusing their strength, and they overuse it to the place where, it really causes the team to kind of implode because they can't keep in that zone and provide good work.
We've seen it, haven't we, as we've worked with leaders across the world. And even in friendships, think about our friendships. You have a friend who, oh man, she is fun, she's energetic, or he's fun, he's energetic, he brings life to the party, and you enjoy being with them. But if they overuse that strength, it looks like being late consistently at the inconvenience of others. It looks like not being dependable. It looks like not having enough depth to really engage in meaningful conversation. So it becomes that strength of bringing energy and fun. When we overuse it, becomes inconsistency and not being dependable.
And so it's good to know that each personality has such strengths, and when we overuse them, they become our weaknesses, so that we can have some tolerance for each other. We can have some grace for each other. We can, understand that we all have that dynamic that can go on. So let's shift and let's talk about, how do we make those shifts? How do we have a little shift that can make a difference? It can make a difference in our relationships and how we connect and interact. And it can help other people make shifts too. So,
and we'll caveat this by saying these shifts require that we be self-aware on the front end. Let's be aware that we need to make the shift, all right? So we all have shadows. We're going to examine, what are we overusing? So once we're aware, here's what we need to do. I think number one, we need to shift from always more to just enough. And what that means is, let's don't continue to push. Let's don't continue to expect things that are unrealistic even, or that, maybe in our world they're realistic, but to others they're not. So we continue to push, That creates resistance, defensiveness, frustration in those that we're in a relationship. Look, let it be enough. Look, instead of saying, give me more, you can do more, we need more in this relationship, we need more in this, you can do, instead of, as a parent, always pushing for more and more, step back. And let it be just enough. Let just enough be enough. Same thing in our other relationships with adults. Lower those expectations.
Now, for some people that are listening to that, they're just cringing on the inside. I mean, it's just, kind of like, whoa, I can't expect excellence. I can't. What is this about?
And that's not what we're saying. We're not saying that you can't expect. We are saying you can't expect perfection. We are saying that sometimes you need to let good just be enough. Sometimes good is enough. And one thing you need to consider, is the relationship worth ruining over my expectation? And you need to continually ask yourself that question. I could push for more. But is the relationship worth more than this expectation? If it is, back off.
And maybe that's a barometer for you. You have to kind of step back and analyze, am I pushing so hard and it's not creating movement? So therefore,
that's right.
Let me use some wisdom here. Let me use some common sense. Let me step back
and
let me figure out, I'm working harder. I might be working harder than the other person. And if I'm working harder in the relationship, ongoing, there are times for that. There's calls for that. Relationships call for that. But if I find myself doing that the majority of the time, then I might need to recalibrate.
Yep. One thing that's worked for me over the years is to remember that relationships always should win over rules. Doesn't mean we don't need to have rules and we don't need to have accountability. That's not what I'm saying. But when we put legalism and rules above the relationship, it's going to become toxic.
Say that one more time. Just
relationships are more valuable than rules. Rules causes legalism and toxicity.
So good. So good. Here's another shift. Shift from good intentions to real impact. Shift from good intentions to real impact. Others feel your behavior, not your motives.
That is so good. I mean, I can have the best intentions, and we've laughed a lot through the years about I'm thinking about this, or I'm thinking about doing that, or but we never do it. We never ever get there. So thinking about and intending to, really good intentions mean zero. I mean, if you think about it, I mean,
to the person that would have received it,
right?
It does not mean a lot.
Right, it means zero. And so therefore, if we just have intentions without actions, we really hurt relationships.
Yeah.
It gets old. People know that. It hurts our credibility. It hurts our character. If we're not willing to have impact, if we're not willing to adjust our behavior, I'm going to intend not to slurp this coffee, but I keep slurping it.
It makes me think about, there are times that I hear someone's good intentions, and, that is nice. However, when someone communicates their good intentions, but there is not that action behind it, it does begin to produce some different feelings in the person that receives it, right? You don't care enough to follow through. You don't have enough action to really, do something with this. And what can happen behind that is frustration, anger, feeling like that they're not as valued in the relationship because that person, isn't following through. They're not doing what they said they were going to do. Yeah. Sometimes it might be better just not to say anything. Keep those intentions to yourself, right?
That's exactly right. Another shift I want us to look at is shifting from pulling away to leaning in. We talked about that just a minute ago with that passivity, but think about what your shadow is, what you want, and don't pretend like it's not there. Don't have that such low self-awareness that we all have shadows. The only question is not, do we have it? That's not the right question. The right question is, what is your shadow? Define it. Let's discover it. Let's be aware of it. And then let's lean in to owning it. Let's lean in to saying, this was mine.
That is so good because, that almost sets up a dynamic that is contrary to what normally takes place. So if you lean into it and say, hey, I messed up on this, or, this is just, I did this, it's kind of, I got ahead of myself. It really can set up an environment for real conversation to take place. And it sets up an environment to see how other people are going to respond. Are they going to respond with kindness and care and acceptance and, create this kind of dynamic that can produce a strength in a relationship. It can make the relationship stronger. It can create something.
One thing I want to say, I want to go back. So owning it, leaning into it, right? Owning it doesn't mean just saying, I have good intentions. Let's go back. Remember, owning it means, yes, own it, apologize what you need, but then repair it. Go, remember our action step. So leaning in means owning and then moving toward a different reaction or a different behavior.
Make your action different. And that's going to be putting, some oomph to the words. That's going to be putting something, action behind, what you're saying. And we know our words and our action need to line up. That's what creates trust.
That's right.
It's not one in isolation of the other. And so here's the last shift. Shift from quick reaction to thoughtful response. Build in micro pauses.
Isn't that powerful? So for those of us who are action oriented, that would be me. It's so important to realize that when we overuse it, as you have helped us to learn, it really hurts people. It hurts your leadership. It hurts your relationship. So how do you become, I'm just not thoughtful. And I just can't. No, you can be. You can be by having those micro pauses. And what that means is just stop. Think about what you're saying, how you're saying it, how you're behaving, and how it's impacting those around you. It's a choice. It's not that I have this great skill or not. It's a choice to stop and consider others before you act.
Do you think if you can create a muscle in doing this, do you think it can really change how you interact with others?
Oh, I've seen it. I've got a guy that I know. He's a friend and actually someone that I've coached for years too. Strong lion, and I've watched him work on this through the years. And I've watched him change from being this person that people avoided because he ran over everybody because he didn't have a bad heart. He had a shadow. And he has worked on that. And he doesn't get it right all the time, but it's changed the perception of those in his circle of influence. It's changed the perception of those he leads. Here's why. They know he's working on it. They see his behavior, not always perfect, but they see that he's trying. And man, it makes a huge difference. That little shift makes a big difference.
Yes, and little shifts over time really create change. And that's where change needs to come from.
Speaking of shifting, it is time to shift to the favorite part of this podcast, the one that everybody waits for. They've been holding on the whole time. They've been waiting, clamoring for it. Melissa, you love it. Robin, our producer, loves it. How could I not do this? Because it's something that you want and that you need, right?
And I really have shifted there. I have. I'm there.
It's the dad joke. The dad joke segment as we close out. Are you ready?
I'm so ready.
All right, here we go. Did you hear about the cheese factory that exploded in France?
I did not.
Did you hear about the cheese factory that exploded in France?
I did not.
Well, there was nothing left but debris. There you go. Robin shaking her head. It means I'm just on point. We did it. Hey, thank you for laughing with us. I hope you laughed at that. I thought it was funny. Thanks for being with us. And, we hope you found some things here that will help you as you make those little shifts that make a big difference in your relationships. It is an honor to be with you. We look forward to the next time you continue to make a difference in the lives of those you love, live with, and lead.
Little shifts that make a big difference. RelationShifts. Little shifts that make a big difference.